Religion has many victims, and these are the stories of how they survived. Hey, y'all, welcome back to another episode of the show. We are so glad you're here because this week's conversation, it's gonna be a good one.
And oh, yes, we're heading up north today, all the way to Motor City, baby. Detroit is in the house.
That's right, our guest this week is Kellie, and she's part of the Black Nonbelievers, a community that's all about creating space for folks who've stepped away from religion and are finding their own truth.
And listen, Kelly's story is real. She went from being deep in the church world to saying, yeah, I don't think I believe anymore. And she's out here building a community for other people who have done the same thing.
Exactly. We're talking about what it means to walk away from faith in a city that's full of churches on every corner, how she found her people, and what life looks like when you start living on your own terms.
So grab your drink, get cozy, and let's get into it because this conversation is honest, funny, and might just challenge a few ideas. And also, I want to say, Kelly is my friend.
All right, let's welcome Tamara's friend, Kellie, our guest, to the show. Welcome in, Kellie. It's so good to have you here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad I'm invited. I was invited.
It is such an honor to be able to sit down with somebody like you that is part of such an incredible organization. So I just want to kind of start off like we always do, with just asking our questions and kind of ripping the band-aid off like we typically do every week. You've built such a strong voice in the secular community, especially with the Black non-believers of Detroit. Can you start by sharing a bit about your background, where you grew up, and what your faith looked like, and how Christianity shaped your world as a child?
I was indoctrinated originally by my grandma, who basically said the same typical thing: do you believe nothing comes from nothing? And on a rabbit hole, she ended up sharing me the Bible, taking me to church. She was more of a being from down south route. She was a Southern Baptist. Though I consider myself a religious mutt in so many words, because like my certain people in my family were Baptist, but some people were Pentecostal, some people, my great aunt was Catholic. I went to Catholic school. However, in my in school, we did Latin in certain situations, but in my great aunt's church, everything was done in Latin. So I had to know Latin. I don't even,
Wow.
yeah. And so my childhood, when it came to my school, I was bullied a lot. I can't really say bullied because I could fight, but I was tormented mentally. So I didn't have a lot of friends growing up and things like that. A few friends, but not many. And then they always were in another class, or they would always leave the class that I was in. But my mom was a high school teacher. And what many people know is that Detroit is known for their gospel music. So my mom is taught and knows very well several other people in the gospel community who come over her house. Maddie Moss Clark, who was the matron, the mother of most of the Clark sisters.
Park Sisters.
Yeah.
Yeah, was I called her grandma.
Oh,
I was always
wow.
over her house. The Winans as well. Take six. I got so that's what I was raised under, and we would have. So after school, my mom would have a lot of these gospel programs that I would be a part of. We call them the Gospel Jubilee. We would have the ministers in the area, things like that. And when I was saying the seventh and eighth grade, I'm not gonna go through everything, but I had a teacher, and I talked to you about this once before. But when I we learned about the Crusades, and I remember questioning, like, why did this happen? This
Yeah.
was genocide. Even as a little kid, I realized that.
It was wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, and I always had questions, but I never had any way of finding those answers.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking maybe I'm the only crazy one having those thoughts and ideas. So I spent the majority. So I'll backtrack a little bit, But when I got like in high school, I ended up meeting some friends. I went to local high school, but I also went to the vocational center in the area as well. And I met a couple of friends who I still talk to some of them now, but not as much, I'll say. And it was called the International Church of Christ. And if you go and look them up, you can find out no the notorious reputation that they have. So I started working with them, going to the church, going to the Bible classes. Eventually, I got baptized, and I ran my way up through the youth leadership. So I was officially, eventually, after a few years, the teen girl over the women, over the youth women that was my peers. And I talked about it early with Tamara, but eventually, um, I started to learn how women weren't treated the same as the men were, that we were not treated fairly. And it was one incident that we were all hanging out. We always hang out. It was a group of us, like five of us, and we would all hang out and everything like that. And so one time it was just where me and one of the guys hung out. And we went to the arcade, bowling, something like that. I can't remember exactly. But we went, no, we treated, nobody treated each other. I paid for he paid for his way. We had a good time, laughed and talked. We went home. There was a burger shop next door we always went to. And I didn't think nothing of it. Well, I come in and I get talked to like I did the most horrendous crime ever.
Yeah.
And all I did was just hang out with a friend.
Yep.
And they said, you're not supposed to go out with a fellow brother without chaperone,
Yep.
without a double date. So I'm like, that's crazy. So what did they do? They ended up stripping me of all my responsibilities that I had. I no longer was that leader. I think I cried for days because I tried my best.
And it was all
And
because you just went out on a date with that boy.
but I didn't
That
consider it
is,
a date though, because
wow.
it wasn't official a date. It was
Yeah.
like we called everybody was busy, and then
It was just you hanging out with a friend, but it was the way that they perceived it because they perceived it as being sinful
yeah,
because again, purity culture is so toxic, like in so many ways. Like, ugh.
yeah. So I'm like, what am I doing wrong? Well, what happened to the guy? Nothing.
Yeah.
And see, what happened was, um, he was like, and he didn't think nothing was wrong. Well, he didn't even know I even got disciplined or whatever because he just went and told one of the other brothers in our group that, yeah, because you didn't hang out. Me and Kelly just went and hung out to the arcade. And so the other brother, being the real churchy, wanting to be the leader, to probably take over his place.
Yeah.
My friend was also that I went out with was also he was a male part of the leadership, and so he ended up telling they called him discipleship leaders, telling them. So I felt like my whole like a band-aid was ripped off of me because I was doing so much in this church, following everything that they said, everything that they did. And eventually, I'll be honest, I still was a part of the church, but I sneakily started to have my own friends outside of the church. And
Yeah.
that's when I started dating my children's father. I should have never did that. I should have left the church without dating him. So I went, so
Hindsight
I
is
went,
2020, isn't it?
yeah, I know. So I went, but I remember sometimes we would like, I would be with him. And I should have left the church before I went to this part, but I would be out with him the night before. And I would tell them I was sick. And so they would come to my house with the communion and with the it was like a $5 tape that they would buy me that had the cassette tape. That's how long ago it was. And they would give me the cassette tape to listen to the sermon, trying to pray me up and pray for me and all this kind of stuff, you know. But I also used to do that. At one time, I used to get up and be at the church an hour early to set up the communion. So I did all this stuff for this church that treated me like this. So eventually I was like, you know what? I can't be a part of the church anymore. So basically, when you leave the church, it's like you fell away.
Yes.
You turned your back to God.
They'll say
You
that you
backslid.
backslidden.
You
Yes, that's right. That's right.
backslid. Yeah, you backslid. That's all that kind of stuff. I was like, okay, well,
The
you know,
devil's got his hooks in her now.
And they never take accountability for what they did to us to push us away.
no, they
No.
don't.
They
No.
could have done that
Yeah.
because the male component of friendship is never addressed, or he wasn't ever told that he did something wrong. It's always only the female that's made to feel shameful for having a male friend.
So, when you started to move away from the church, okay, what kind of pushback or pressure did you face from your family or your friends or the community that was around you at that time?
Well, my intimate family was happy I left that church because they weren't part of that church, and they was like, that's a crazy church. And another thing, I'm gonna go backtrack a little bit. You had to what you call share your faith. So you would share your faith. You had to go so many people. So we would go like in community activities, share your faith with 10 people. And they would watch you do it.
Oh, yeah.
Go to somebody and be like, I'm part of this church. I would like to invite you to our service this day and time or whatever activity we had. And so basically when I would get a few people that would come to the service and stuff like that, but nobody got baptized. So I was like a strike for me.
Because they would show up but not get baptized. That's
Yeah,
so
we had
messed
Bible
up.
study. No, I'm sorry. Two people did. But it was one time, I don't know, they counted me because it was my friend in my high school class. And then also, she worked at McDonald's, and a manager who I didn't know was a manager that worked there, that she worked at, was also part of my church. I knew him, but I didn't know that she worked at his McDonald's. And so she was like, well, I can't come to your church, but I'll come next week. And then I ended up seeing her at the church service because she knew my friend. That was funny though. But yeah. And so another thing I didn't like is that we had something that's called a special contribution.
Hmm.
So you pay 10% originally, that's
Yeah.
everything. And then they'll say 20 times or something like that once a year. And I'm like, 20 times? What is this for? And they say, well, to help build new churches and to do this. Oh, another thing I did leave temporarily for about 6 months and moved to Buffalo to build the church there. Temporary thing. But yeah, so, and I'm like, wait, 20 times your regular 10%?
That's insane.
That's like
That's just greed.
50% of what? One paycheck or 50, if you do 10 times 20, well, that's 30%. 30%
No, no. Okay. You do 10, let's say 10% is your so
tithes and
let's say you
offering
pay
times.
$50, and then you have to pay 50 times 20%. Yeah. So
That's
it'd be,
That's so
let's say, a
messed up.
thousand instead of 50 or something like that. I'm not good at math. I'm just guessing a number, but that's how crazy they would be.
That's out of
But
hand.
so they're wanting you to sew back into whatever it is they're
The
doing.
yeah,
pastor's
well, they walking
pocket.
in nice cars, and I'm like, man, I'm a single mother. Because if
Yes.
I left the church, I had children and stuff like that.
Yeah. That was us. Like, I mean, we, had 4 kids, could barely put food on the table at one point in time, and our pastor's like, "Oh, but you don't want to deny God the blessing or it will come back as a curse upon you. So you need to pay your tithe." That's more important than feeding your babies. I need my money in that
Right.
offering plate. That's so
Right.
insane.
And that's
And I've
what's
seen,
so
and
sad because we going back because dealing with like the Marvin Weinstein you probably heard about, and like that's not how he was raised.
Yeah.
Because my mom knew him since he was like 14 years old, and so for him to act that way is kind of really it's really astounding. Like I used to look up to them. They were like my big brothers and stuff like that. For you to act like that, that's crazy. It's
Yeah.
really sad. And they had all these, he used to come to our school and look out. He used to bring positive artists come talk to us, stuff like that. And this is how you act?
the sad thing about it is that they justify what they're doing today. You
There's no
know,
justification.
I've gone to churches that I was a part of, like physically every time the doors were open, was at the children's meeting, was helping the children's meeting. But when I went and I said, I need help, all of a sudden they pulled out the books and said, you're not in good standing and you're not paying your tithes and offerings regularly. Like, are you kidding me? I don't even
Yes.
have 2 dimes to rub together, let alone
Um,
a pot to
yeah,
piss in.
I remember one time I had a situation where my the Church of Christ I was just talking about, and I went there cutting my hours, and I said I need help. And what did they say? Pray about it.
Oh, Lord. That prayer is not going to put food in my belly or lights on in my house.
So even as a deep Christian, I hated that word.
Yeah.
Pray about it. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
I might pray with you too to help you more than what I can, but I wasn't just gonna pray about it.
Give me some help and we can pray. How about it? Like, hello.
That's what I'm saying.
Let me see some works
Especially
behind that faith.
especially when you know that person, right? It's not like I'm a stranger walking off the street. Not that I'm saying that that's okay for churches to ignore strangers that need help, but you know me. I've been coming to this church for the last 10 years faithfully. Obviously, if I'm not up on my ties and I'm a single mama and I'm struggling because my car is broken, this and this and this and this and this, you know it's not just because my heart's not there. And that counts for nothing these days. Nothing. They want to see how much you're contributing before they then open their books to help you.
Absolutely.
Not all Christians or not all churches, but
Yeah,
I can tell you most mega churches do
Yes.
this.
that's why I don't never. That's why I stopped going to those kind of churches. I went to a small church, like 50 people. They had me
Hmm.
more. So basically, we're gonna go back to your next question. You was asking what happened when I left the
Yeah.
in that Church of Christ. I started going to visit other churches, and I even had a friend that was a Hindu. Went to their service a couple times. Nation of Islam, Buddhist temple a few times. I just went to find
You were exploring every avenue, really.
every
Yeah.
aspect, different faiths of the Christianity, whatever I could find. So one day I'm not too far from my home, but I'm not close. As my children, I'm also helping a friend. And I can't really call her a friend anymore because she's a backstabber. But enough about her. I'm helping her watch her kids free of charge while she's trying to go out of town to get some money to take care of her children. Because so the pastor of this church walks past. I'm walking past. He's like, "Hey, how you doing? You want to come to my church?" Scratching my nose. That's rude. And so I'm like, "Yeah." So we go in, and it is like they have some kind of program going in. small church, but everybody's coming in. They're loving, they're nice, and they're sweet. And eventually, I became a member. Through that church, I started working with the pastor, me and another sister that I got close to, rest in peace. She was a little older than me. And we started to build up, getting grants to build a soup kitchen, clothing room, other things. Even though we were a small church, and I worked with my mom, who eventually became a member of the church, but she was at another church at the time. And we set up something called network churches. And network churches was a community of small churches that one church focused on how to help somebody in that aspect.
Oh, that's cool.
So we basically did the food and the soup kitchen thing. My mom did the clothing to try to help each other out. We didn't have much. So, that's what I did. And I also did the announcements and the Sunday prayer and other things like that on the pulpit. Was a part of the choir. I led a couple of the Sunday school sessions and things like that. Um, and I was happy there. Now, because of my position in the church, I had a lot of dealings with the pastor.
Yeah.
He always was professional. Nothing ever was said. But one day, the pastor's wife came to me in a very nasty look and said, quote unquote, um, I don't want you. You need to stop hanging around my husband like this.
Oh, wow.
I don't appreciate you. He's a married man. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm not doing anything with your husband
Yeah.
besides so after that, I stopped going to the church.
Yeah.
So at first, I made the excuse to them that, well, I'm working a lot.
Yeah.
Because I did start working at Chrysler at this time. And I moved like on the east side, and my church was on the west side, near where I live now. So I didn't have no car at the time, so it was kind of hard for me to get around. So I can't really go. So I made the excuse. I could have found a way to go if I wanted to really go.
Yeah.
But I started going, working a lot of stuff like that. But I still, and I hate when people say this, just because you don't go to church does not mean you're an atheist. So I
Yeah.
didn't go to church, but I still read the Bible. And I can really say I read the Bible intensively. I will go and look at Bible studies. So
Yeah.
it's a lot different because they pick certain scriptures to look at, but you're not fully looking at the Bible.
Yes. Yes.
And listen to my music at lunch, and that was my church. Because you're saying if two or more gets together, that's church. So I guess we having church right now on a Sunday.
Exactly. Yes, we are. Amen. I agree. And I'll even use that churchy language because
So yeah, so I
Let's do
went
that
to the.
two-step Pentecostal dance.
do step.
Oh, I was like, get the tambourine.
Right.
So, yeah. So one day, so that's what I did for a while, and then I end up being cool with some people at this that thing. Oh, we start talking about the Bible and doing service and stuff like that, whatever. So eventually, one day, I'm watching YouTube, and whatever I'm watching, I don't even remember, but I doze off watching it, and I wake up, and Penn and Teller is on, and I'm close to 40, maybe I'm 40. And so it's about 10 years ago. And so I'm like, what? Penn and Teller? I like Penn and Teller. And they were doing a magic act. And it basically was talking about the Pentecost.
Ah, okay.
So, and you're sitting there, and you're like, wait. And then, the locusts, and then you come in, and they're talking about the lamb's blood. and the firstborn Egyptian son dying, Hebrew son dying, Israelite son dying because, and I was like, wait, why did God kill every firstborn Israelite? Because of the Pharaoh? And then when you find out later on that the Pharaoh wanted to free them, but the God hardened his heart. So that didn't make any sense either. So I'm sitting like, what is going on? Why? That don't make no damn sense. I
Yeah.
said, and it woke me up. Then after that, the next video came up was Oren Ra. And Oren Ra had a speech. And after that, he had question and answers. And two black women came up and said, why don't you believe in God? And he said, as black women, why do you, after he didn't care about you being in slavery for 400 years?
Ooh, that's a heavy truth, isn't
And that
it?
was a he's a white man that
You're
looks
like
like
this
a punk
white man.
rocker. He looks like a goth punk rocker, 60 punk rocker. So you're like, what the hell? That woke me up again. And I'm like, damn,
What the hell? What the
what is,
helly?
but
He
I
just
sat
called us
there,
out.
yeah, but then I sat there and I was like, wait a second. Watching these shows, what are black people? Like, they ain't no damn black atheists. I'm the only one. So I
Yeah.
start feeling that way. And then I end up getting a connection, and we're still friends to this day. But I end up meeting two people at my job. One was, no, three people. One was a Wiccan, actually, and I might have her on my show. One was a Wiccan, one was a white atheist, and the other one was a Satanist. And we would spend lunch together. So a lot of my friends would be like, "What the hell is wrong with you?" Hey, with those weird people, because he would wear like skulls and all this kind of stuff, you know. And I would walk around, and then I had a few friends when I first deconstructed. So I had to fake the front for a long time. I didn't, I would say, yeah, praise God and all this stuff. Like, I'm like, bullshit. I would say that, but I wouldn't say anything. My mom will, I'm about to pray about it. Me too, mom.
Kelly, I'm just going to jump down and say, once those doubts began, right? Once you really started doubting it, was it when you were about 40 that your doubts really started kicking in? And how
Yeah.
did that process unfold? Deconstruction can be both liberating and devastating. What has your journey been like emotionally and mentally to you?
Well, the first thing that crossed my mind was, I was a deist. Maybe there was a God at one time, but he's not here anymore. And then I was like, well, maybe only certain scriptures of the Bible is true, but the other scriptures are true, you know. And then eventually it was like, this bull. But it was a long process because you're like, I'm the only one. So you feel like weird and strange. Like, why am I? And you start crying. I started to cry because I'm like, why am I doubting this? I've been taught this my whole life. But the more and more, and then I started, the friendly atheist at this time started reading about every Sunday. He would read a certain section of the Bible every Sunday. And I would read along with him. It took like 9 months for him to go through this series. But that was another thing. But eventually this pushes us to around COVID. And so I spent like 5 or 6 years. And eventually I'm like, you know what? I didn't want to go to no church. I don't want to pay no tithes. I wanted to just sit home and relax on my weekends,
She's like,
my
I'm
day
done.
off. I'm done. I ain't
I'm
doing
done.
nothing. But eventually I was like, I kind of do need a community of people that are thinking like me. So eventually I would look up, and eventually I found meetup groups, but of course they were closed up because of COVID. And I had just went through surgery a lot of surgeries because I was diagnosed 2019 with uterine cancer. So I had to
Oh,
go a lot of surgeries, radiation treatments, and stuff. I'm okay now, but
oh, that's good.
radiation treatments and stuff like that. And so that's what really made me think. And my daughter's one, I would say she's doubt, but I still consider her a believer in a certain sense. That's at least the way you know,
Yeah.
Tamara. But then the other one, Kelana, basically came to me asking questions as well. Like, why does God do all this crazy stuff? Why are children starving and things of that sort? So she doesn't believe either, like I do. But anyway, so
In Detroit, have you found that you are very few and far between as being a Black atheist? How the community that's starting to grow, you and I know that we do things and we work with the community to make sure that they know that you're out there, we're out there. There's things places for them to go because a lot of times we find ourselves so alone on this journey
every
that
corner is a
sometimes,
church.
right? And I think,
It's a liquor store and a church, every corner.
and
So you
now a
get drunk and you
dispensary.
get drunk Saturday and repent on it Sunday.
That's it. Same way in the rural South. Like that's all you have is liquor stores and churches. Like that's it.
And
But yeah,
dispensaries now in Detroit. It's like church, dispensary, liquor store, church.
yeah. But one thing about it is that there was the Great Migration in the 50s and in the 20s, where a lot of which was my great grandparents moved to the north. So a lot of the southern roots is in me. Like
Hmm.
I'm born in the north, but I'm country all the way. I, you know, I'm country.
That's
I'm
me.
a country city girl. I cook some southern food, and that's how I was raised.
I have to
But
just say that I have never tasted her cooking, so I'm going to say as an atheist, I need proof, evidence, verification,
well, you
and
did have my
receipts.
green beans one time. Remember? You have had
Yeah,
my green beans at the picnic.
and
I
Listen,
I ate.
did
That's
make
all I
those.
ate, and
I
that's all
don't.
I ate the whole day was your green beans.
So you deconstructed and your children had a lot of questions. And I know that, when you deconstruct and you have kids that are part of the faith, that can be a little tricky. I went through that with my own kids, and they've all landed in various places. I've never told them what it is that they are to believe about the world around them. I want them to have the freedom to believe whatever they want to. So how hard was that for you going through that process with them?
Well, my oldest two already grown, and my oldest really didn't like church and stuff, and would always get mad when she had to go, um, and would complain.
Yeah.
She, oh, man. But my youngest also, that's why it's weird and it's really scary. I've heard from, she hasn't told me directly, but I heard that my youngest has been hanging with Mormons.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't know. She has not said anything to me, but some of my mother children have told me, you know, she's in came to the Mormon church. I don't know. She hasn't said anything to me, but I know she has gotten a few religious tattoos.
Yeah.
And I tease, I'm gonna cut her arm off. Why you got this on you? Take this shit off. Cut your arm off.
And
Mom.
Kelly, if it's okay that I ask,
Yeah.
is this the child that is I'm gonna say it wrong, non-binary? Yes, binary. So do you find that even like a little more um
That's weird to
odd
me.
and confusing that she would even be looking at the Mormon church because of the way they
Exactly.
stand on with the LGBTQIA community?
Exactly. So I'm like, what's wrong with you? But I haven't really said anything
Yeah,
because I don't want them to get mad at me.
Yeah.
Why would you
yeah.
say that? Ma? But they ask me for advice in what I think, and I'm like, I know a little bit. You ain't gotta take my advice because she's 21 now. They're 21 now. But
Yeah.
you can at least respect and listen to me because I've experienced some things. I've been through a crazy church,
Yeah.
and I don't know how, so I understand that, But sometimes you have to, and this is the one thing that I have to say is that being a parent, your job is to raise them the best that you can.
Yep.
And you learn by mistakes.
Yes. And sometimes
Even
we
though you
have
don't
to,
want them to do
yep.
those things, but that's how they learn.
Yep.
But it doesn't mean you're gonna stop being a parent. I'm not gonna be your parent no more because you did this.
Yep.
No.
And sometimes we have to sit back and let them make their own mistakes. Like we got to sit back and just watch things happen. Like, well, I told you, but you didn't want to hear me.
Yeah. Yeah.
How
But
hard is it for us as parents not to look at our children and say,
I told you so, you
uh,
little shit.
because sometimes it's like I was not always your mother.
I am just saying there are some times that things have happened and I and and my children have looked at me and said, "Don't even say it." And I was like, "I won't say it with my mouth, but my face is telling
My
you.
face is
I
going to tell on me
told
every
you."
time.
See, the one thing about like the between my mom and myself is my mom basically made it seem like she did nothing wrong.
Mm.
Yeah.
And I let my kids know I did make mistakes. That's why I'm where I am today. Because of those mistakes that I made, it grew me to be the person that I was.
Same. And my kids know the mistakes that I've made as well. I have been open and honest about the brutal truth of, who I am. But the reality is that hiding things never helped anybody. And we have, had those family secrets in our family for so long that nobody's spoken about that only cause and perpetuate more harm. And with my children, I didn't want to be part of that problem. So I refused to be the person that kept the family secrets. I was the one who would tell them all.
And if I can jump onto the back of that, I've also had to look at my kids and say, "I'm sorry for the mistakes I made while I was too traumatized to even function
Or too
and
Exactly.
indoctrinated,
or too indoctrinated or didn't know my way around, didn't know where I was going and didn't know where I was coming. And if you have to heal from your mama, I'm okay with that." And
Yeah.
those were like the hardest words for me to look at my kids and say, knowing that I have caused, not intentionally, but just because of what I've done and just because of the choices I've had to make, I know I've caused some of their traumas.
Yep.
I'm gonna
And I told him
talk
I
about a
would
little
sit there and
bit
hold them and I would love them and I would admit that I was wrong and I would own it and be accountable because that's not something that was ever done for us.
the sad thing is that in the black community, slavery occurred and stuff like that. Many times, the black mothers would discipline their children because they knew that if the master got to them, it would be worse. And those traditions hung on. So many times, spanking and discipline was part of our culture and community.
Yeah.
And the words we say, like, I want like a black eye for you and stuff like that. Or we
Yes.
never say that to my children, but things that we would say those things. And I remember having to be in church. Now, a lot of times we was in Sunday school, and that was fun. But I had to actually go to actually service as a kid. We had to sit there, hands folded, don't move, can't say nothing, or we're gonna get popped with the. And my grandma they made sure they had a purse. They had the strap you could take off. They would hit us across the leg.
Yep.
Don't flinch in church. And I noticed
And they
myself
would,
doing that a few times with my own kids.
and Kelly, they would wait until the whole church said amen and then smack you as hard as they could. Because if you hollered, at least it was at the appropriate time.
Yep.
Yeah, sit, don't move. And I'd
And
be
we
like,
all we all knew what that look meant too when they shot us that look in
yeah,
church. Like, oh God, I'm about to get tore up.
yeah. They would
I
look
have
at
to
us,
say,
side eye us.
I remember being a teenager and knowing I'm about to get backhanded by my mom, and I would take off shouting and talking in tongues. Just get out of her reach. I'd be like,
You always,
I would get that.
you always was a Jezebel.
But I would be beat all the way home. But for me, it would be better to be beat in the car all the way home than to be humiliated in front of my teenage friends in the youth group. So I just act like I was really into church for the next 5 minutes, scoot my way over to the other side of the church, speaking in tongues and praying. Whatever works. Whatever works, Kellie. Whatever works.
So, Kellie, how did you end up landing into the Black non-believers from being part of all this church stuff?
Like I said, I was watching a lot of YouTube videos, and that was basically my safe haven. And so COVID happened, a lot of groups was closed up. So I ended up watching, if you know about Seth Andrews, who is the
Yes.
thinking atheist. Well, his show is the atheist. He don't like saying that he thinking atheist, but he's sure thinking atheist. So Mandisa Thomas, who was the leader and founder of the organization, was interviewed on there, and she talked about her company organization, I should say. Now, from watching those ACA shows, I did find out there were other Black people in the community because there were two hosts on the ACA shows, Talk Heathen and Atheist Experience, that I saw, two Black men who I eventually have met, by the way.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, man. So after I saw Mandisa's show, I ended up watching every video I can find of her. Then I found out she had to and found everything about the organization and looked them up. So nothing was happening at the time because it was COVID,
Yeah.
whatever. But the
Everything shut.
next year, um, they had a revival of they had a Women of Color Beyond Belief conference.
Oh, cool.
So I signed up for it because it was in Chicago. Chicago was a 4 to 5 hour train ride. That's cool. And so I said, okay. I signed up for it. I said, when I get paid Friday, I'll pay to be a part of it. And I ended up getting an email from her. And she says, I see that you have wanted to join the Revival of Reason. That's the thing we have now. Women of Color Beyond Belief. That's what it's called. And so I said, yeah, I'm gonna pay when I get paid in a couple of days. And she says, well, I'm letting you know now that we have a scholarship program and everything will be covered except transportation for you to get here. And I said, you serious?
You're like,
That was like,
sign me up.
That's
yeah.
incredible.
So I ended up bringing my youngest, and we came in and hung and went there. So that was the first time I ever met in person other atheists.
That is so cool. I bet you that was such a great day for you too.
It was such
Just
a
to
great
be
day,
in
yeah.
community with people that are like-minded and think like you. I know for me, finding people that had deconstructed from Christianity, it was a breath of fresh air because, I live in the rural South with closed-minded Bible thumpers. So whenever I'm in the company of somebody that actually has an open mind, it is so refreshing.
Yeah. So the one thing about the conference, it was not only Black women, but she had Hispanic women, Arabic women, just so many different beautiful women. They were telling a story, and some of the women could not be in person, so they had video cameras secretly recording video of them telling them their story and about how they had to be silent, that they could be put to death if they knew
Yeah.
that they were atheists.
And
And
you're
when
talking
I
this
left,
about 4 years ago, right? Towards the end of COVID,
yeah,
2022.
yeah. This was recent, yeah.
Yeah, so
So
you're
these,
talking about women of color or fearing for their safety.
Certain African countries and
Yes,
certain Middle Eastern countries, women could be put to death if they admitted they were atheists. Some of
That
them
is
didn't, the
so
husband didn't
horrid.
even know they were atheists.
Wow.
wow,
That is
that's deep.
horrible. Yeah. And people
That's
don't
really deep.
realize that these things are still occurring, that this oppression is still active and present even in today's day and age. Like they think that when they think about these things, they think of them, happening way back when. But it's not way back when. It's right now. It's still
Exactly.
occurring. Like, this is why these
Exactly.
conversations are so important because we are continuing to shine light on the harm that is still happening.
Just
Wow.
And
like, I'm gonna go a little forward a little bit, but I'm interviewing a couple of people that are in Africa that have were exiled from their country in Africa because they are part of the LGBTQ community. In certain
Wow.
countries in Africa, they can be put to death
Yeah.
for them being gay or lesbian or whatever. So yeah, it happens still to this day. So I'm having tell me their story about how it
Yeah.
feels to be. And also they're also in the atheist community as well. So that's a double whammy on them.
Wow. It's like a double target on their back,
A
really. I
double
mean,
target. And it's sad. So after that I said, wait,
and
if these
third, if
women
they're a
can
woman,
speak, yeah, it's even worse if you're women, but it's certain countries in Africa where it's okay to be a lesbian but not gay.
yeah,
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know which ones, but I did hear that from somebody that's from Africa.
that's
oh,
patriarchy for you, though. They're okay with watching two women getting it on. They're not okay with witnessing two men unless they're suppressing their own
Exactly.
urges. And that's why they hate gay people the most, is because they're suppressing it within themselves. Like, it's so weird, messed up.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So after I left the conference, I said, these beautiful women speaking up, some of them telling their stories about how they can't be silent. So why the hell am I silent?
mm.
Yeah.
So I went,
Was that when you started speaking out, and that's when you started actually actively forming the community in 2022 for Black non-believers of Detroit? Was that when you started
not
getting involved?
officially,
Not
but I
officially.
did make posts. I post pictures of the conference. I bought T-shirts and care if I wore them. I bought buttons, but I was not a leadership. And then the next year, the 2022, this is 2021. So 2022, we had our first. I went to my first. We have a black. You have to go next year with us. A black non-believer cruise. That's where I went for the past week.
Oh, cool.
And so I met some more phenomenal people. And without going through details, there was a Detroit group. I thought it was not active because of the COVID happening. But after other things opening up, there was still no Detroit group. So I ended up talking to the original Detroit leader, and it was like, hey, what's going on? If you need some help, let me know, blah, blah, blah. And after we left the cruise, a few days later, she ended up, and her few other affiliate leaders end up walking away from the affiliate
The
leader,
group.
and that's
Yeah.
when she asked me to step in. It was a whole big turmoil. I don't want to go through the details,
Yeah.
but they really did the founder and the president wrong, dirty. I
Wow.
got angry. How could y'all do that? When she looked up, and she always looks out for everybody.
Yes, drama does not just happen inside Christian churches on church pews, do they, Kelly?
No,
We have
no.
seen
So
our
just
share over
because
the last 3 years
no,
where you're
so
like, well, people are people, aren't they?
and I remember her even crying because of what they put her through. And I was like, man, but I mean, she come to me asking me, did I want to take over so this was like late 22, and did I want to take over the Detroit group? And I was like, me, I don't think that I can do it. I don't think I can
But look at you now.
I didn't think I could do it. But I said, well, but I said I wanted it done because I'm like, something needs to be done. I'm tired of this. I need to have space that I can feel comfortable and talk to people that's like-minded individuals with me and not
Yeah.
always talking about really, religion and stuff like that. I'm tired of that. Tired of that
Right.
crap.
And especially being part of the Black community where faith is often intertwined with identity. Did you find it difficult to separate the sense of belonging from your belief system?
Yeah, it was hard because everywhere you go, it's church something.
Hmm.
Like
Every function, barbecue.
even at my job, like we got Facebook and different groups, and all they put is prayers in there. I'm like, I'm not trying to pray, but I don't care. I don't care. But it's so funny, like it was somebody
Yeah.
that had stickers, and these stickers said Jesus loves you. And they plastered all over the turnstile of my job. And I'm sitting there like every time anybody was then looking, I would tear them off. Or when they would post like Bible um Bible studies or something at work, I would tear those down.
That you have told them when they've come by and they start talking to you, you're like, an atheist.
Yeah. Yeah, and I ended up getting a huge argument with one of my coworkers, but that's how I found out another coworker was agnostic. That was kind of cool too. Recently.
Yeah, that is cool. That is cool. So, Kelly, if you could go back and speak to your younger self, that girl who was still trapped in that belief system, what would you tell her today?
What would I tell her today? Your questions were right. Your doubts were correct. You know, I wish I would have knew a way to research more before the internet. But I'm gonna go back. When I was growing up, my grandma had a good friend. He was a retired science teacher, chemistry teacher for high school. So a lot of times he would go there and do experiments and hang out. And he had a couple of classic cars and things like that. And he ended up having but we didn't hang with him, whatever. But I could tell he would look at my grandma. I'm like 9 or 10, and I'm like, he looks like. So I said, Grandma, um, I think he like you. And my grandma started laughing, and she said, I can't. She says he does, but I can't date nobody that love. He seems like a good guy, Grandma. She said, but I can't date nobody that don't love the Lord.
Mm.
And I'm like, what do you mean? I didn't understand that. So I said, what do you mean? And she said, he's an atheist.
Mm.
Now that's one thing that I would do if I go back in hands of time and talk to him. But my grandma wouldn't let him talk to me about that.
Yeah.
But I would love to have talked to him. That's the one thing. Man, if I could talk to a black atheist, good atheist since the 60s,
Yeah.
man, the knowledge he had.
Yep.
And he was probably an amazing man and
He
a
Yeah.
good
was.
man.
He was the sweetest. Then I thought about it, like, we thought this man was so bad, but you hung around him all these years. And I think they did date for a while till he told her he was an atheist and then she broke up with him. But
Yeah.
my grandma probably let the man that was her, without lack of better words, her soulmate go and never was happy in her life because she let that man go because he didn't believe in a God. And that's
Wow.
sad.
That is sad. That really is sad. And it's like T said, like, you know that that man will probably been the best man to her because I hate to say it, but atheist men treat women better than Christian men do because they treat women like they're less than them. And atheists don't do that. They see women as equals. It's a totally different,
Yeah, he
structure of the
treat this
relationship.
man. Yeah,
For
he used
the
to
most
take
part, I
us
have
out, do
met
it us
some.
out. There, well,
Yeah,
there
there
it
are.
is.
I was talking to I was talking to Kelly saying that she knows that in the last, and you as well, that in the last couple years, right? I'm 55. I was 53 when I started deconstructing being in a patriarchal type of relationship because I knew how to be submissive. I knew how to be meek. I knew how to be mild. I knew how to adjust my tone and my voice. I knew what they automatically were looking for. And it made it
Yeah,
easier than going outside because I was raised that atheist men were evil men. And
Yeah.
then I really had to deconstruct exactly who in my life has been evil. Has it really been atheist men or has it been Christian men? And at that point, when that happened, then like your grandma, if your grandma would have given him a chance, or Kelly, we would have realized that those are indoctrinated thoughts. That is not reality. There are good
Absolutely.
and there are bad. If you want to say good
yeah,
or bad, I don't like using good or bad because of just the way it just doesn't describe the complexity of of humans relationships. But in the bigger sense, right? That she missed out on a good guy just because she said he didn't believe in God. And that's like so sad
exactly.
that we get to a point in our lives that that is the only thing we can rely on is that he's a Christian man, so he's good.
But the Christian man she married had extramarital affairs on her.
Yeah.
So that's sad, though.
It is sad.
And she probably stayed and she probably said, well, God will forgive him. I'm going to stand by my man. I'm not going to do anything that's not going to make sure that I'm not a good, godly woman. I'm obviously paraphrasing for her because I've
Yeah,
heard it
yeah, 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 yeah.
so
But a lot of
much
people do
through
think
my
that, though.
life. Right?
A lot of
But
people
you
do
hear
think
that
that.
so much that that's what you believe, that no matter what, you stand by that man. No matter what, you do what you're supposed to do, and that makes you a better and a gooder and a and a more
Get
godly,
her, get her,
holy
Yeah.
person.
get her, man.
Gross,
I
What's
did
Gaggle.
that
that
on
song?
purpose.
That Dolly Parton song? Stand by your man.
Shut the freak
Stand by
up.
your man.
Yeah.
I know that's not
So
a word. Please forgive me. I was
no,
teasing
no,
to make
I
it
was
better.
teasing you. I was teasing, I was teasing. But my but when I did so, I did not tell my mom that I was an atheist for a long time. Actually, I never told her originally. My daughter, the second, told her. It was 4th of July,
And how did she take
and
it?
ooh, not very well at all.
Yeah.
Are you telling me you don't believe in the Lord? She
Yeah.
cussed me out and said anything. And so I didn't talk to her for some years. I'll talk to her now.
Yeah.
We agree to disagree.
Yeah.
Though she wants, now I'm like, why do you want to be? Maybe because she doesn't understand. I have an activism, the secular activism uh, podcast I do.
Yeah.
And so she's understood why she can't be on my show. Okay. It's going to be a little different though.
Yeah.
Because she's one of, like, I'm your mom. You have other strange people being on your show, but not me. But it's going
Mm.
to be a little different. We're going to talk about religion
Yeah.
and about how it tormented me as a child.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be more deeper. It's going to be a three-way because I'm going to talk. It's going to be my oldest, her, and me. And we're going to
Mm.
talk, have a
Ooh.
discussion.
What did she say about that?
Um, hasn't gave me an answer yet. Well, I told her I was going to have her on my show. I didn't tell her what the show's going to be about yet. So that's what I
Shh.
told her. But yeah,
Listen,
yeah.
Kelly, your secret is always safe with us.
Yeah.
It's not like this is a broadcast, but
And then maybe because we talked about doing the Reddit stories, the deconstructing. So maybe you can come on and when we finally do it, you can come on, Heather, and you can read them
Yeah,
with us.
that would be awesome. I would love
Yeah.
that. And we will
and
be sure, like I always tell all of our guests, but I will leave all of your links in the show notes. That way they can find your podcast. They can find you on social media. They can check into what it is that you're doing and, the activism that you are participating in, because I think it's so important for our listeners to be able to have areas where they can plug in too.
Yeah, exactly.
And I just want to bring this up as well. Kelly has opened arms for me to jump right in and to be a part of the community. And I truly appreciate that. I understand, sometimes I was hesitant in the very beginning, and she knows we've talked about this because, I'm a white privileged woman, but I am very humbled that the fact is that I can work side by side with her. And as two atheist women who are now on the Michigan Atheist Board, can make sure that we bring community together and to know that her voice is not alone, my voice is not alone, and wherever she goes, I'll go. And wherever I go, she'll go. And that we got this together. And it's like so nice having that camaraderie right in your backyard, right where you can reach out. When she knows I'm going through stuff, she's going to reach out to me and she's going to say, hey, blah, blah, blah. And I can say it right back to her. And I'm like, you know what? It's just make a huge difference over the last couple of years. So thank you.
Okay. I'm gonna brush briefly about the subject I talked about with the ex-pastor.
Okay.
So there's an ex-pastor. I will show you the evidence, whatever, later on. But it was an ex-pastor that we basically friended through the Black Nonbelievers last year, I would say. He had a very great story, great to listen to, wonderful speaking voice. And so eventually he ended up, I'm going to say, dissing us because he felt, excuse me, because he got notoriety. So he kind of built up. I thinks he was better than us, so he moved on. So fast track to now. It's the conference. Now you know about the Baja Con, Samir, right?
Yes. Right.
So
And for
one
our
of the
listeners, the Baja Con is our atheist community in Canada.
Okay, that's cool.
And they have a conference once a year, and they had it really close to us this year, but I was too sick
yeah,
to attend. But
it's
they
it's
did
it's
have it
it's,
this year.
it's always the same area every year.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
But anyway, but looking on the thing, we had a problem. So one of the Cynthia, she's one of the affiliate leaders for Chicago Group. Cynthia was the affiliate leader for Chicago Group. Goes looks on his page, and she sees the highlight of who's supposed to be speaking, and she says, "Wait, I have a problem with this. Why is there only one black person in this whole thing?"
Mm.
So the pastor was a black man. Don't be on my page talking about this. I don't. This ain't no, you know, whatever. Blah blah blah. Negative, whatever. So I'm mentioning this is because Casey Gleason, who everybody might know her husband, the guyless engineer, made a comment. She says, why can't this be addressed? Because I see it's a problem that it's only one black person on here. Hmm. So this is a white woman saying this
Yeah.
from Alabama.
Oh, wow.
She's an atheist as well. So what I'm saying, so Kellie had nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
This black man didn't care because the only thing he cared about was him being in that position. He didn't care he was the only black person in that position. He didn't care.
Oh, wow. So
But you
because he
got,
was elevated, it's cool for me. It's cool when
yeah,
I do it,
I
but
don't
fuck
care.
them.
I'm getting my way to the top.
Yep. Yep.
I'm gonna kick you down as
But
I'm
I don't
making it
care
to the
about the
top.
rest of my brothers and sisters getting up here
I
with
don't
me too.
care. No,
Ooh, that's not
no,
good.
no.
Mm-mm.
Man, this the president back non-believer. She was like, "Hey, kid, I got someone want you to speak here. Do this, do
Yeah.
that." She's never been that way. She always talked to me about Kelly. Why aren't you doing much? We have a podcast that we do on the show.
Yeah.
You know, on not on my channel, but on her channel, on the Black and Me channel. Kelly, why don't you want to speak sometime on the thing? No, she's
Yeah.
always wanting you to speak up. Him, no, not so much. So he's even went through and has blocked several people in the atheist community because they also was saying, why was he acting the way that he was acting? Like Matt Dillahunty, Seth Andrews, John Gleason, and other people that are the big people in the community. They got
Yeah.
like millions that everybody knows their name.
Yeah.
And so he does this. And I'm like, that don't look good. Why are you acting that way? Why are you doing that?
Yeah.
But so no, that's what Tamara know. I don't that color don't mean nothing when it comes to supporting each other. You've
Yeah.
always supported me. You've always been there for me. So of course, you family.
Yeah.
That's more important to me. He's not. He showed me the negativity.
Yeah.
That's
And
so many people. Sorry, go
one
ahead.
thing, we have talked about often is, and we said it earlier, is just because you're in these deconstructing spaces doesn't mean all the people that are in these spaces are safe, right? Okay, we know this. Just yesterday, I had called out a pastor who had put a post on social media where he's literally invalidating people's trauma. But he claims to be a safe space for people that are deconstructing. And I'm like, you can't claim to be a safe space for people who are deconstructing if you're willing to invalidate somebody's trauma just because you don't understand it or you don't view it as trauma yourself.
That
Me,
part.
as I don't get to invalidate another person's trauma just because I don't view it as trauma myself. I don't get to dictate what is and is not trauma for another human being. And if you are doing that, you are not a safe space for trauma survivors, period.
But it's sad thing, a lot of men think like that though.
That is because they have not deconstructed patriarchy.
Yes.
They use it because they know patriarchy helps put them in certain places of power just because. Just because. And what they don't realize is that the only reason why they're there is because they're a man.
Yep.
And I had an atheist man ask me on how does he make sure that women are included? I'm like, if you have to invite a woman to your table to speak or to be a part of, that is a good sign you have not deconstructed patriarchy because there should never be an invite for an atheist woman. There should never be an invite for a woman to a table with men present. It should automatically have a seat ready for us. It should not have to come by an invite. It shouldn't be like, oh, I'd like for you to be a part of my platform. No, it should be, I have a place for you. Would
To
you
be
like
a
to
part.
speak?
Yeah. Like this
To
is
be a
for,
part.
yes.
This is for you, not just for me, but for any woman who wants to speak. There is a good point of reference that you could use. If you're making a spot for her, you are not including women. And men, atheist men and Christian men, have no business speaking out on issues that pertain to womanhood and to females and to feminism. If they want that to be talked about, they should automatically have a seat at their table for me to attend.
Yes, exactly. Because men should not be speaking on women's issues, period. I don't care what community you're from. You need to sit down and shut up and let a woman speak, period. Like,
Period.
Now, the one thing that I would sadly say is that sometimes men do need to speak because sometimes some of these men don't want to listen.
they won't listen to
Be
women.
like,
They'll only
hey,
listen. Yep.
I'm gonna have her talk, but she knows what she's talking about. And as a man, we need to shut and listen to her. But
Exactly.
sometimes it does take that man to have to voice that opinion.
I say this all the time. I was doing a women's live last week, right? And the men, there was a couple men that reached out to me and said, we were in the comments supporting you, but we didn't want to come up to the panel because it's all women. And I say this every time I have a voice. Another man who is in patriarchy or is deconstructing from patriarchy is not going to listen to a woman's voice. As unfortunate as that is, we need strong atheist men that are going to hold these men accountable for the atrocities and hypocrisy that they continuously show when it comes to supporting women in their groups.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Christian men, atheist men, agnostic men. It doesn't matter. If you are a Christian man and you know that that is wrong, it is your responsibility to be accountable and stand up and say, this is wrong. And if you're an atheist man, it is your responsibility to support that atheist woman and encourage her voice and to make sure that they know that they are not going to invite women to their table, that the women's places are already
Already
set for them.
set. That's right. Hello. Okay, Kellie, I've got one last question for you as we wrap up here. What would you tell our audience for anybody who is starting their deconstruction, or what words of encouragement would you offer them, knowing how personal and difficult this journey can be?
Try to find a space. It's good to be around people that are like-minded as you. Also, two things I want to bring up is freedom from religion, recovering from religion. Recovering from religion probably more because you don't have to actually be an atheist to receive help.
Yes.
And they have support groups, they have call centers and things like that. And go look on Meetup. We're here, American Atheists, look them up because they can put you chapters. Black Nonbelievers, if you're a Black person, you know,
And your
but that's
state
really important. Yeah.
and your state as well. You know, our
I know we have
Michigan
Michigan atheists, but
atheists.
if you go look like on American Atheists, it'll pull groups in your area in your
In
state.
your area, right? And that's what I tell everybody. Like in Michigan, it's the Michigan atheist, but in Tennessee, it's a Tennessee atheist, or
Yeah.
it's a North Carolina atheist, or agnostics, freedom from speech. There are many groups. It is so important what Kellie said is to be and to get involved. We are hurt within the
Yep.
context of a relationship, and we are healed within the context of a relationship. If I can quote my friend Jeff, that is exactly what it's about. In order for us to heal, we must form a new community, not go back to the one that we left, but make sure we become a part of something else.
Yes, and you don't have to start your own community. You can literally just go find another one and
Yeah.
become a part of it. I know that some of us were a little bit more bolder than others with being on the internet and speaking out on podcasts and things like that. But if that's not you, you don't have to do those things. But community is so important because it is where we find healing. It's where we find togetherness and
Yeah.
encouragement and hope for what's to come and how we face, what it is that life brings our way. It's not easy out here, and it's
Yeah.
definitely doing it alone is not going to work.
Because like what I said when I was telling my story is like how I looked around and YouTube and finding these places.
It
And I
was the
went and
same way.
investigated to find out what they were about
Yep.
and visited them.
Yeah, it was the same way when I deconstructed. Like when I first started, there weren't all these different groups and things, because I started deconstructing probably about 9 years ago. So, but it wasn't till COVID hit. That was when I really got on the internet and I started finding groups. And I was like, wait, there's people out here that think like this. Holy shit. Like my mind was blown because I was raised in an indoctrinated bubble where everybody thought the same, everybody believed the same. You mean there's people that are actually out here willing to question the Bible? Oh, I was clutching my pearls almost myself because, like, I couldn't believe it, because we were
And
taught you don't question God, you don't question the Bible. So to think that there's actually communities of people that have already done the questioning and broken free, it's like, oh, I need to talk to these people. And then the people that you end up talking to and end up in community with, they are the atheists, the Satanists, the agnostics. It's like all the people that the church told you not to hang out
Not
with.
to,
And it's not because they're evil, it's because they're awake. That's why you find
don't say that
community.
word.
Yes.
Don't say that word.
And I'm going to say this too. For those of us that are listening and are Christians and are deconstructing our Christianity, that journey doesn't wind you up to be atheist or
No.
agnostics. I'm going to say my co-host, I was around whenever she was still questioning being agnostic. And I remember the day she found her light and clicked into the Celtic ministry, if I'm saying it
Yeah.
correctly. But she didn't deconstruct from things that she totally believed within her heart. So
Yeah.
it's not always about deconstructing to the point that you go completely atheist. That may be
No.
your journey, agnostic, pagan, Norse pagan,
Yeah.
satanic. That those may be your path and your truth. But if your truth is also deconstructing your Christianity from your childhood to be in something that fits you today, right there is proof.
Yeah.
Right there is proof of somebody who lives Christ-like and deconstructed from Christianity and is perfectly okay to say those things and to sit up with a panel of atheist women and know that she fits right in because we understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's my sister and my
Yeah,
friend.
I don't.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't. To
about to make
me, it
me
doesn't
cry
really
over here.
matter. Like there are some Christian, there are some religious people that I will. It don't matter. They my rock.
Yeah.
Mhm.
This the only thing we don't believe in the religion crap. Everything else,
I
that's
don't have to believe in what you believe in to believe in you. And that's
that's
really where my faith leads me to believe in people and the heart of people because that's what's more important than anything. I'm here to help you become the beautiful, most beautiful
yeah.
version of you that you can become. Whether that's on the path of atheism, like I have one of my little babies that I've adopted. She's a witch now,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
and I love that because she has reclaimed her beliefs and her faith for herself, and now she has a spiritual path that is more meaningful to her and more important to her than what her indoctrinated beliefs ever were. And I'm okay with that because I want to celebrate what brings you joy. What brings you
Hmm.
peace? What brings you happiness? If I'm sitting here condemning that stuff, I'm just causing you harm. I'm not doing
Yeah.
any good. Like, what's
You're
the
no better than the
No,
next
I'm
person
no
that's talking
better.
negative. Yeah, no better.
No.
At the end of the day, we peel back the labels that society puts on us and we
Absolutely.
walk authentically to who we are as individuals in the world around us.
Amen. Well, Kelly, it has been so amazing to have the opportunity to sit down and have this conversation with you today. This has been such a wonderful conversation. Like, I've really enjoyed the things that we've talked about and hearing your perspective on things because you bring a whole different light to this than we've had before on the show. So I'm really grateful for that.
Oh, I thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
And you know the pleasure's all mine.
Yes,
On to more shenanigans.
And
yes,
like I said
yes.
earlier, I will be sure to leave all of your links in the show notes so our listeners can find you and listen to your podcasts and listen to these important conversations that you're having with people. Because, again, awareness changes lives and it helps bring healing. So, thank you again for all that you're doing.
Yeah, because my
And
first interview was with this beautiful lady beneath me, Jezebel
Oh,
Joe. That was my first interview. So,
I love that
uh,
so much. So, they're
and
going to
I was
so
have to
so happy
listen.
to
Now they're
do
going to
that.
have to listen.
And and if you guys
and
don't
maybe you can
know,
come on as well one day.
I would love
I
that. I
will.
would be honored. It would be an honor.
and just for you guys to know, support Black non-believers of Detroit. If you're within listening ears and you're in Detroit, make sure that you know that you're not alone. And we're no longer hiding. We are here. We are open. We are welcoming. And we are wanting you to be a part of our community.
Thank you guys so much for listening again today. We are again so excited to have you guys here listening with us to another episode of The Awakening. And as always, if you enjoyed this show, please hit that subscribe button so you can never miss an episode every time they drop. Thanks again. Have a great week, everyone.
The preceding podcast is solely owned by its host or hosts and is distributed by Big Media LLC. Copyright 2025, all rights reserved.